Good evening. It's 8 o'clock European time, and it's the European Ham Radio Show. And Bob has grown some hair down there and a drum kit in the background. Welcome, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Bob's not here. Charlotte is here in his place, or just as a semi-regular person. We can't call you a guest anymore, can we, Charlotte? You're here so often that you're practically part of the team.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers. Yep.
Yep. We're going to talk about QRP versus QRO. We're probably going to talk a little bit about the Norwegian ham meeting as well, at least we did backstage. But first, we're going to do the ham radio week. I'm struggling to say not to say the ham radio moment of the week, but the ham radio week. Charlotte, how's your ham radio week been?
Oh, God. I haven't done much this week at all. So I'm actually speaking at the ham meeting and have decided that now is the time I need to write my slides. So I've started on that. And yeah, I'm hoping I can make it interesting, but we'll see. But I haven't actually been on the air at all this week. Radio aside, I'm going to take us on our first tangent very briefly. I actually went on my first run in about 5 years this evening, and I'm still vertical. It's great, but it felt good to get out and about. So yes, I have been doing stuff, just not much in the way of radio stuff, I'm afraid.
But working on your presentation is definitely part of ham radio stuff, though. Hopefully, I'll get to attend your presentation at the ham meeting, Charlotte. If not, I'm guessing that the guy below me will film it. And in case you were wondering, most of us are going to the Norwegian ham meeting. So if you want to meet up with us, it's a good chance. Hammeeting.no. Anything else this week, Charlotte?
No, not for me. I think that was about it. I will say I dug into things like RSGB exam data and stuff like that. So we'll see exactly what I glean from that. But one of the slides I'm going to talk about is ham radio a dying hobby? Spoiler alert, no, it's not. But there we go. Hence the exam data.
Yep, that's very good. I've just seen the Norwegian numbers for the last 6 years, and it's been a positive trend in Norway, at least. So, and I think that trend is somewhat post-COVID universal, at least a lot of places in the world. Jürgen, what have you been up to, except for APRS on the Commodore 64? As I see behind me?
Yeah, not too much. Good evening, everyone. As I was sick, I was at home this week. I was not in the office, so I spent half the week, or the first half part of the week in bed, and the second part, I played around with my C64 Ultimate, as you can see in the background. It's decoding APRS packages. Playing around here with Strike Term, which is a terminal program for the C64. Maximum baud rate I can use here is 2400. First, I thought the limitation is, let me switch over here to, come on, now it's not working. Anyway, the other camera is not working. Nope. Anyway, yeah, I have a modem, a user port to serial port adapter here. And but this can do 9600 baud, but only with the C128. And the C64 is limited to 2400 baud, and that's the maximum I can select in Strike Term here. And yeah, yesterday afternoon I was again at the amateur radio course teaching there, and that was it. Hunted a number of POTA stations, and that was my amateur radio week. Tobias, how about you? What was your week?
I just want to shoot in with the thing here because Gary's in the chat and he's been a ham for a month and a half. How about we congratulate him and wish him good luck on his ham journey? You're just getting started, Gary. It's going to be a lot more fun from here.
And get somebody close to you if somebody lives close to you to help you get on the air, because it is so important to get on early and go out there and have fun, or sit inside and have fun, whatever you like.
Yeah. Andy comments that mic is slow. Whose mic is slow, Andy? If we know that, we can try to fix that and mitigate it. Sorry for interrupting, Tobias. How's your ham radio week been?
My ham radio week has been a fighting with software week, more or less. I had a quite tricky problem at my day job, which consumed all my working time and probably also my spare time. So when I was finished with that, I thought, okay, since I'm already dealing with software problems, I continue with a quick overhaul of our hamshow.eu website. You won't see a big difference, but it's a bit cleaner behind the scenes to update and maintain. And then I thought, if I make it to Japan for my Japan trip, I should sort out my streaming equipment and figure out how will I do this when I travel. So I spent half a day trying to figure out how that works with my Osmo Action 4 Action Cam. And it's really very, very badly unintuitively implemented. I think I got it working in the end. And then I tried the same with my Panasonic, my big camera, basically, because I'm not sure which one will I take. The big one will be better because bigger lenses, better quality during low light shots. But lugging it around is annoying, right? So the Action Cam would definitely be the nicer, quicker, just grab and shoot setup. And the short summary of it, I'm not sure if you're interested, is basically on all these cameras, you enter the RTMP, I think is it called, the stream code, and you set it up before in YouTube, and then you just enter the URL and the access code. And that's the only way to get it working reliable. The problem is that YouTube does not really offer you a convenient way to manage a live stream on the smartphone, yeah? Because whenever you're on the smartphone, it redirects you to the YouTube app. And the YouTube app and the Studio app, they have a live stream feature, but that only works when you're live streaming from your mobile phone and not when you have a separate camera streaming, right? So you cannot really manage the stream and pause and resume it and put it on hold or check if it is running. So it's all a bit amazingly difficult for 2026. I was expecting some nicely integrated program or a widget on Android side where you can just, drag and drop and have a big button to enable and disable it. No, it doesn't exist. It's really was a revelation, but so I'm just trying.
What you should do is go to a ham radio crash course and see the setup Josh has when he streams from Hamfest and try to replicate that if you see that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, an alternative is, of course, to use something like StreamYard or EVMax and set up an external RTMS stream there. So that should work. So I could basically
I was going to say if you can pipe.
That would even allow me to work with 3 cameras. Yeah, so I could have the camera on the mobile phone, and I could have the additional Action Cam sending the RTMS whatever stream also to the EVMax server. Anyway,
Tobias?
that all has to be tested in the next few days, and I hope I'll come up with something that works.
Tobias, there's a streaming app called Streamlabs. It's also available on Google Play. I'm using it on my iPhone, and this is what I am using for streaming. This is what I was using last year in Dayton, for example. Streamlabs.
Yeah, but you were directly streaming from the phone, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
And if you have an
exactly.
iPhone, low light is not a problem.
And this is how 90% of all people do it, because it's such a pain in the back to do it with a Action Cam or with an external camera. But funnily enough, my Panasonic has a WLAN interface and a RTMS server built in. So it could do it. I just need a management software to see, is the stream healthy? Is it alive? Am I live or only in the staging area? Well, Anyway, nothing of this has anything to do with amateur radio. So amateur radio wise, yeah, the only thing that I managed is to switch on my Yaeso FTDX 3000 and figure out that after 3 Windows updates, all the audio settings have been reshuffled. So I restored the setup, so I'm back up and running. So that was the biggest achievement. Okay, Hjertil, what about you?
Not very much. I drove over to the cabin this week to check up after the rehabilitation work that's over there, and that's took a lot of time. Basically, it's a 5 or 6 hour drive now in the winter, and has some family stuff to do as well. Sharing some pictures, by the way. Martin.
Yeah, sorry, we only have one producer today, so
Yes.
I'll see if I can press the button here. I can press the button, but nothing happens. Okay. Let's see if I do this and this. Yeah, we're
excellent. Yep, and then something I believe Martin probably will cover as well, something called 145 Alive Norway. So I tried to join without any success whatsoever. I could hear modulation. I could hear that somebody was there, but that's about it. So I did try that from the car as well, and I filmed an episode, and I did publish it, even though I didn't get any QSOs, but I thought it was worth showing just because, it didn't work, and that's fun as well. And it was cold, and I tried 50 watts out on FM, which should generally reach you quite far, at least with a decent antenna. So that's it. And then I did a POTA today in Kristiansand, or POTA and the bunkers on the air as well. So I tried 2 meters there as well, and nothing basically. So, but I got quite a lot of QSOs. I also did another QSO or activation on Friday, a rest stop park thing, POTA, along the E18 highway, where I met up with Bård LB5JJ, and we had just a small eyeball QSO and exchanged some different ham radio related goods. I got rid of the mount I bought for him at the ham meeting a while back, and I got a cable for my 7900 and a small sensor. So that was fun.
Yeah, you got that cable before I got it, in other words.
Yes, and I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Also, so that was nice, and I haven't tried it. And yeah, I also did some DMR. So talked to William. I talked to a few others as well. Always nice to hear some activity in there. And that was over 4G at the cabin. So like into the repeater or into the hotspot over 4G, and then out on the other end. So not that RF exciting, but it worked.
And now I know what I've done. I completely forgot about it. I did that shorts video, how to set up your Anytone, right?
Yes,
and you did, and that was helpful.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, but very
nice.
tricky to record in one shot in 3 minutes without too many stutterings.
Yeah, I love programming the Anytone. Wasn't that something like that's the title was?
yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking.
I love the code plug editor. I think that was the title.
Yeah,
People like to just be swearing at it, right?
I also got into a bit of a.
Yeah, go ahead, Kjetil. Sorry.
Yeah, I also got into a bit of a discussion on GitHub among the creator of a ham radio app, which I won't mention here, but about checkboxes that were invisible in the app. So that was fun. I made a massive pull or issue, like bug report, with everything reproduced step, and he said, use the checkboxes. And the checkboxes were invisible. So that was fun. Yeah, and I don't think I've done very much more. I did try a tiny bit at the cabin, but I didn't really get out. So, and to Gary, if he asked if it's a BMW, no, it is a Volkswagen Caddy. Absolutely not a BMW.
Well, it's German.
Well, close enough, but it's not. So, yeah. What about you, Martin? Did you do anything fun?
Depends on your definition of fun, at least some of the stuff. As probably some of you guys know, I'm the administrator for 145 Alive Norway, which kind of just happened a couple of months back because me and Bob had been talking about getting it up and running for about a year and a half. So I figured I just need to get this thing up and running. So we had the second 145 event in Norway on Saturday. So most of the start of the week was spent administrating that and replying to those guys on Facebook that knows everything and complains. Bob decided to help though, and he wrote 145 Alive logger, which was really helpful. A couple of bugs that needs to be sorted out there. Let's see, what else have I done? I think I played with APRS last week, even though I dropped the video. Yeah, I've been trying to design a fishing reel. Let's see if this shows up. Fishing reel 91 antenna. Had a wound on 140 toroid. Turns out that all the balun boxes I have are either too big or too small for the form factor I want. Also turns out that most of the balun boxes you find on Thingiverse that claims that they should fit a 140 does not. So I've been 3D printing a lot today. I could probably design a box much quicker, but didn't go that route. But I did design something else, and this is the feed point for an inverted L for 160 meters. Because if you've been following my channel or this channel for a while, you know that the way my club does field day is not, well, we think a little bit like the Swedish guitar player Yngwie Malmsteen. We don't understand that less is more. So even though we won last year, we decided to get even better. And we had a planning meeting on Thursday discussing antennas on an actual map. Actually seeing what we can fit. Where can we have the full size 160 meter antenna? Where can we have the full size 80 meter vertical, and so on. 2 antennas for most of the bands, a vertical and a horizontal, just in case things should change. A couple of beams and stuff like that. So even though field day is 7 months away, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of work going ahead for that. But we do have a rough plan. And if we can pull that off, we're going to have the best field day experience ever.
Yeah.
And then I heard that Sebastian was going to add support for the US field day in Polo. And perhaps he was going to get multi-op support in it as well. I heard that over in the Ham Radio Workbench. So I thought I should speak to Sebastian and hear how complicated it would be to add the Norwegian field day as well, because being able to log in Polo would be preferred to N1MM in a network in a cabin without internet and electricity.
Yeah, you could have him add like the German one as well. I remember we looked at the rules for signing up there, and they were pretty straightforward, roughly.
No comment.
But it says a little bit about field day though, that we actually start planning. We started planning in, let's see, field day was in September. So I'm guessing we started planning in September for next year's event.
Nice. Did you get your diploma yet for winning?
No,
me neither. So,
but I'm just happy that there are diplomas this year, because there hasn't been before.
Yeah, well, that's fun.
Let's see, what else did I do? I see that we're way ahead of time because Bob hasn't had very many projects today. So I need to spend some time. Well, 145 Alive, of course, yesterday. Set up in my car in a high spot with a J-pull for 2 meters. Put that up at about 8 meters. Had 17 people check into my net. Had a net going for an hour and 45 minutes. A huge improvement. Not the amount of people checking into the net. I think I had 18 people the last time, but that we actually was able to run it for an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes, which tells me that people enjoy this and like the activity that 145 Alive creates on 2 meters.
Did you manage to hand it over to others so that they could run the ring as well?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of rounds where I asked people if they had a couple of people they wanted to call and see if they could get some QSOs, and that was really nice. Especially with the people that couldn't hear me very well, they called them because they could hear them, and they got to be part of the net as well. So
Nice.
great experience. Looking forward to the next one already, even though I haven't checked when the next one is. I think it's sometime April, May
Yeah.
ish.
Looking forward to that. You mentioned that you happen to randomly become the admin for that in Norway. And if somebody is
Not randomly, but
yeah,
let's put it that way. I sent an email and things just kept adding up, and suddenly I was running the thing.
yeah. If somebody is interested to port bunkers on the air to their country, then they are looking actively now for new people to run new countries. So if you have bunkers and you would like to get them on the air, and you live in a country that doesn't have worldwide bunkers on the air yet, then go to the webpage and send an email to, I believe, Andre, who is in chat here. And
Yankee Oscar 3 Golf November uniform.
yes, so he'll be glad to talk to you and get you on air, because there's lots of them. Also, I believe Lima Oscar Tango Alpha or Lulota on the air is also looking for country managers.
What's that?
What's that?
That is Lakes and Lagoons on the air, which is a program started in Chile, and they have expanded. They're already in the US and quite a lot of other countries. I did check. We have over 450,000 lakes in Norway, and they have 2,000 in their database so far.
You had me with lagoons.
Yes,
There's a reason
a
to
lot
go
of
to the
those.
to the
A lot of
Maldives.
those in Austria, right?
No, but on the Maldives. Hey.
yes,
yeah, right.
because
I'm up for that.
I don't think there are many lagoons in Norway either, but we do have some fjords and stuff, so that should weigh up for the lack
I
of
don't
that.
know what constitutes a lagoon. Actually, the correct geographical definition of a lagoon.
Something you do not find in Norway.
Yeah,
Same with Scotland.
Yes,
but
so,
we do have coral reefs in Norway, and I think coral reefs and lagoons are somewhat related. So perhaps we do.
yeah.
Oh.
So I think that's a good chance. If somebody wants to do it, then please, by all means, do it for Norway and any other country you'd like. Information on their webpage.
And in case you were wondering, Polo supports Lolota. So that's good. Yeah. Do you know of a country manager yet for Lolota?
Not me, because I already have 2 programs to manage.
Yeah.
But I know you don't have too much to do, so
Oh, I don't have enough ham radio related activities, and I actually do. I think
Yes.
I want more time to play with the radio, less time administering radio related activities. So not at the moment. But in case you feel like you'd like to be a part of this, who should people contact?
for lelota.app, there's a link in their menu system which says country managers, and there's some contact form there. And for Worldwide Bunkers on there, you talk to Yankee Oscar 3 Golf November uniform, which you'll find on their webpage as well, or in our Discord. So QRP or QRM. That's an interesting.
Marion tries to switch us over to our subject. We still have 6 minutes to go, Marion. But seriously, QRP or QRO? And I know we're going to make both the QRP people angry for talking about how nice it'd be to have a kilowatt amp, and make the QRO people angry because they'll understand that you can actually make QSOs with 5 watts.
Yes.
What's your take? What's your take on it, Kjetil? QRP or QRO?
I just have to tell a very fun story from Lima Alpha Fort Charlie, from the club station that I grew up in, which is a QRO station. 2 QRO stations, but to be fair. And we had a new ham that sat there with us, and we wanted to get him on the air. And we heard a pileup with Japanese stations, or one Japanese station, and a pileup of mostly Southern European people trying to call him. So first I called him up with a kilowatt, and it was a 6-element Logiagi, just pointing directly into them. So got through, and you could hear like the other Southern Europeans being a bit more annoyed. So they turned off the power. And then we got him on and another one. And then just for the fun of it, I just went /QRP, just went down to 5 watts, and I still worked him. And you could just feel, you could hear something like nuclear generate power plants just booming up in Italy, just adding up for the PAs. So that was a enjoyable thing. But it shows that the power doesn't matter that much if you have a decent antenna and the correct skip. Because if you're out of skip, or if you have a bad antenna, you can shout with as much power as you want, almost, and you won't be heard within legal limits.
Yeah, and there's such a thing called an alligator station, with a big mouth and small ears. And it doesn't really matter if the other people can hear you if you can't hear them back, though.
Yes. Some also
So
call
we just killed the entire discussion here before we even made it into our roundtables yet.
Sorry, some also call that the hamstick effect, that you can be heard but you cannot hear anybody. But that's more on the antenna and not the power thing.
Yep.
But there are valid use cases for having a power amplifier. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's not. I'm just going to say it's not the be all end all of ham radio if you have a kilowatt or not.
No. So I'm sure somebody else has. Maybe Tobias, do you have any insights on QRP or QRO? What do you usually run?
I think some people would even consider running 100 watts as QRP. So I have no experience whatsoever with QRO. So I don't know. I think you are Charlotte. You have tried it, or on some club station. So how is that? Is it too easy? Is it like shooting ducks in a barrel, or is it fun? Or
So I did it once, and it was a GB3RS, which is at Bletchley Park. I got to run a kilowatt. Actually, my first HF contacts would have been running. I'm assuming they had it fired up to a kilowatt, because at the time I was just so nervous to be handed the mic that I wasn't really looking at anything. But I think my first contacts at HF actually, they were at that station, and if they're running at full power, well, that's what they were running, and it was on 40. And I think I just nervously noted down a few call signs. But we did go back for the RSGB convention, and I decided like it's a POTA. And unfortunately, they wouldn't let me activate it because at the time I didn't have my full license yet, so I couldn't run as me. And they didn't really have a good way of logging an activation for GB3RS. So I decided to hunt some parks. And I was heard by basically everyone, but I don't think I noticed a big enough difference compared to if I'm running 100 watts in a park with a decent antenna. It's fine. I mean, I will be honest, I know that isn't QRP, right, by the strict definition. I think it's sort of 5 watts or something.
I think some people would even call 100 watts QRO.
It probably is, yeah. So I've tried that. I've tried 20 on a G90. And I think for me, the biggest difference has been the antenna. But, and I guess at the other end, maybe a couple more people heard me, but I didn't notice this vast difference, which is what I was expecting as a new ham. That, right, running a kilowatt, everyone's going to hear me. And that actually kind of wasn't true. It's like 1 or 2 S points.
The thing is, though, when you're in a park, you're the exotic DX. You're the station that people are hunting. That's not even a joke. People will hunt you because you are in a park. And I think it was my Kate MRD over on Ham Radio Tube a couple of years back tested a kilowatt in a park to see if it made a difference. And his conclusion was that it didn't make enough of a difference to bother.
Yeah. I could say that I sometimes bring out my G90 now after using mostly my FT891. There's a difference, but you can't count it. That's the same as like being a bad day or whatever. Like 20 watts, which isn't QRP still, is still a massive difference. But you don't notice the difference in contacts. But for a contest, it would probably be very different.
Oh, absolutely. And for a contest, if you want to be a big player in a contest, you would need that much power, just because the competition is running that much power.
I think it would be really fun.
So it's basically to get through through all the others, right? Because if
Yep.
you look, difference between 5 watts and 1000 watts is 4 S units, right? So
Yep.
even a S6 signal can be perfectly clear and understandable. Actually, even a S0 signal can be perfectly clear and understandable. But if everybody else is shouting at the same time and so much stronger, then you're having a hard time. But I think for POTA, it's usually not needed, right? I mean, nobody does POTA with a kilowatt because nobody lugs around the amplifier, but you also don't need it because you're being hunted.
It looks like you want to say something again.
No. I was doing kilowatt POTA last September before we started the field day contest. Just because I can. I mean, the station was there and we had the amplifier there. So, and the field day, the place was in the park, so why not? And it was fun. But to be honest, yeah, as you said, there is not much of a difference. Okay, I worked a number of North American stations in the afternoon in a more or less dead band, let's say. I heard them, but they've been very weak. So, but okay, it was fun. But if you're in a park, yeah, as Morten said, you are the DX, and it doesn't matter if you run a 5 watt or 100 watt or more. Maybe a little bit more will help.
I'm going to contest that. It does matter if you're running 5 watts or more than 5 watts.
Yeah.
I rarely have a hard time activating with 5 watts, but I do notice that the pace is significantly slower with 5 watts as opposed to 50 or 100 watts.
I did some SOTA and POTA activations last year, also combi of SOTA and POTA with my FX5, FX4CR with the 20 watt radio. And I worked station in Australia with 20 watt. And then just for fun, I turned the power down to 1 watt. And he heard me. So that was fantastic. And that was fun. So if I'm going to a summit, I try to keep it as simple and lightweight as possible. So I go maybe with my X6100 doing maximum 10 watts, up to 20 watts with the FX4CR. And if it's not a very steep climb, then I also take my FT891 up to a hill. But in a park, yeah, you are the DX. Don't care about the power. The others have to listen to you. They have to work you.
Yeah, there is a
I
contest.
think if you want to run a contest, then things might be a bit different. Yeah, then it is probably very, very hard to participate. Well, you can always participate in a contest, but 100 watt or more is probably a good idea then, right?
It changes your contest because you will be hunting. Like at least in a big contest, you can't hold the frequency with QRP. You will basically lose that within minutes. But there are other contests as well. For example, in Scandinavia, there's something called the SSA portable test, which is a Swedish contest. And you get multipliers for lower power. So if you're running less than 1 watt, you will get 4x multiplier for your points. If you're running for 0.9 watts SSB, I've still gotten hundreds of kilometers on that, on 80 meters. So it's really cool. But of course, then everybody are out in the forests. There's zero noise floor, and they're listening for weak stations. I've run a lot of contests portable with 20 watts. And one of the things you'll see is that at least the big gun stations, they don't care about listening for weak stations. If they can't decode you on the first try, they just go seek you again because they don't want to waste time.
Tim's got a point in the chat, though. In 4 or 5 years, if you go QRP on SSB, you'll be better with full-sized antennas. And that's a valid point. We have been at the top of the solar cycle for a while now. And of course, it's going to be different. I remember, I think I just got my license. This has to be in 21 or something, the CQ Worldwide contest. Tried to run it from at home with a compromised antenna and 100 watts. Stopped by a fellow ham who had huge beam and a kilowatt. I did notice that it was a lot more fun to run a contest with a kilowatt than it was with 100 watts and a compromised antenna. Every station I called, I got a reply back from, which is not happening
Speeds
with
up
100
your
watts.
turnaround time considerably, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. That it does put some more requirements on your gear and so on, like that it's better matched, that you will very much notice if you have a lots of SWR, or if something in your house is tuned to that frequency.
Yeah.
Like your speakers. But I would love to run it. I would love to have a proper PA at home once, but I would need to have a proper station for it as well. Running a kilowatt on solar power is rather unfortunate at the
Yep.
cabin.
Like 5 minutes.
We have. I see that you're sharing a picture again. We'll get to that, but I just want to shoot in that going back to our less is not more philosophy at Field Day. We're still running in the low power class, which is below 100 watts, because having 7 stations on portable power in the middle of the woods with amplifiers is something that would complicate our setup too much for it. So what we're doing for Field Day now is going with more and better antennas, and that's hopefully the way we'll win again. Let's see what you're sharing here again.
Yeah, I will let you know. This is one of my next projects. I just have to negotiate the price with Vimo now, as I have good contacts to them. Yeah, no, now as I have contacts, so maybe I can get this, or maybe just for testing. It's a 400 watt amp, so I will let you know what's the difference in a park with 100 watts and 400 watts. I will do a video about it. Yeah, but using an amplifier in a park, then you need larger batteries. I mean, this takes up to 70 amps on 12 volts. So that's nothing you want to carry up on a summit.
No.
Well, mathematically, the difference between 100 and 400 watt is 1 S unit, right?
1 S unit, theoretically,
yeah.
But I will let you know.
Yeah.
So,
but talking about POTA hunting, that's a total different story, because when I hunt parks in the US and in Canada
and in Norway,
I don't need a kilowatt hunting parks in Norway.
No, you're plus 60, but is that with 100 watts or with a kilowatt again?
400 or 500 watts.
Yeah.
Just to keep the antenna warm. But hunting parks in the States and to make it over their local pileup, that's a different story. Because some of the stations, they're listening for the X every now and then, but most of them, sorry to say, folks, but you don't listen. You just keep on calling and listen for your local. That's okay. We will do the same. More or less, but every now and then you should listen for the X, and then it's good if you have an amplifier to make it through or over the pileup.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I use my Yaesu Quadra.
Well, that's
so maybe we should rephrase the question for Marion and say QRP or QRO or CW.
Yeah.
So I once ran the something called QSD-LA in Norway, which is a broadcast to all of Norwegian ham radio operators. So basically, it's like what's happening, and people.
It's the news bulletin.
News bulletin, and I did that from Lima Alpha Fort Charlie again, and usually the reports I got was like plus 40 to 60. Sometimes it was weak down to like plus 5 or something, and at least in some parts of the country. And that was with the kilowatts. And then for fun, one day I just said I wanted to test turning down to 5 watts for a minute, and I wanted people to give me reports on the 5 watts. And difference was so tiny. It's so fun because there were a few people that didn't hear me, but that was just like a minute amount of people. So
Yeah, the thing is though with QSDLA and 80 meters is that most people have an insane amount of noise on 80 meters, myself included. Today when I tried to listen to the bulletin, I had +9 or S9 noise on 80 meters. So I had to hear it rebroadcasted over one of the repeaters here because I had no chance picking up that station.
Yeah, that's a sad problem there. So, and then you actually need a lot of power. One interesting question though, which I'm sure Bård would have a question for or answer for if he was here, is where do you put the amp? Should it be in the shack or should it be at the base of the antenna?
Same question for the tuner.
Yes,
Yep.
I know.
No, we all know a tuner has to be as close to the antenna as possible to be effective.
Yeah. I think
What
the
was the
amp
amplifier?
is pretty much good. Except you need the tuner, of course, after the amp. But
Yeah,
I think an amplifier would be good close to the radio, and it'll heat up your shack as well.
yes. At least
In
if you have
winter,
decent
definitely.
coaxes. Yeah. So if you have decent coaxes, also you need to be somewhat careful with where you put your bandpass filters if you have them, because most of them are not rated for kilowatt, at least the ones
No.
I've seen, and they are slightly expensive.
Let's see. I do have a bandpass filter here. Let's see if it says 300 watts on this one. So you shouldn't put a kilowatt through that. That'll kill it for sure. That's
Yeah.
also one of the reasons why we don't do a kilowatt on field. As I said, it just complicates stuff so
Yeah.
much. I did have an amplifier on loan here when I set the DX Commander up. And even though the amplifier turned up not to be working, figuring out how to make my shack, that is pretty much designed for 100 watts, be able to run 500 watts here. That was so complicated that I ended up deciding that I didn't want an amplifier after doing that mental exercise for a day.
Yeah, there's also some other things you need to concern about. For example, noise towards your neighbors, and of course RF or radiation levels. So in some countries you have to calculate this. In Norway, we have the limit that if you cause interference to your neighbors, you have to limit it to 100 watts. And if it's still a problem, then it's a neighbor's problem, basically, because their system should handle it. But there's a lot of different legislation around this.
We have to do like a sort of EMF assessment type thing, and so I have to do it for my portable stuff as well. And it basically tells you what the exclusion zone is.
I haven't
I think
even done
running
it
a kilowatt
for.
here.
I haven't
We
even done
don't
it
have
for
to do that.
100 watts. Yeah, so too much bureaucracy. Same reason as not being monetized on YouTube. I just stay away from it and I stay QRP. But that's me.
So,
Fortunately, we don't have to do this in Austria.
Yeah, you're a
So I
lucky
think,
man.
for my 100-watt rig, it's fine because you have to specify the kind of antenna you're using and how much coax you have and blah, blah, blah. And I think when I did it for operating here, it was so inefficient that it didn't really matter. The thing was green. It was like, who cares? You're below the limit. Doesn't really matter. But I can imagine, though, as a consideration, if you were wanting to set up a proper kilowatt station somewhere like this. So I'm for people who don't know, I'm at the on the top floor of a block of flats, and we have 600 flats in the development here. So yeah, it's noisy. So it's about an S7 here if I'm on 40, like if I have an antenna tuned to 40 and I'm just listening. So I'm not going to hear anyone anyway. But let's say I decided to belt a kilowatt out of here. I strongly suspect that there would be issues with that because there are neighbors on this side and directly below. So
I think the limit here in Germany is still 750 for normal operation. Yeah, I think you got upgraded in the UK to 1 kilowatt a year ago or so. I can't remember exactly, but here it's still 750. But as you said, if you're living in a densely populated area, if you live in a flat, or if you have neighbors left and right, then as soon as you go above 50 or so, you can cause problems to cheap electronics that is everywhere these days, right?
yes. But they
it's
will
also my
probably
own
also,
cheap electronics.
Yeah,
well.
they will
Yeah,
prob-
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
they will probably
I-
also cause problems for you. So
You're looking at the idiot who bought touch-sensitive lamps for the living room. Yeah. So whenever I do hear 5 watt or 10 watt FT8, the lights go on and off in the living room.
If I do sideband on 40 meters now, I suspect I do have some loose radials on my DX Commander under all the ice and snow. Actually, the people in the living room can hear half of my QSOs.
Seriously?
uh,
Oh,
We get a Espen's got a comment here, and I'm guessing this is because first Pavel asked if anyone considers environmental aspects of running QRO.
yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. It's not necessarily, you don't run 1,000 watts continuously.
No.
A heater would generate more power draw than that. Espen is waiting for a polar amplifier, and I'm guessing you're thinking polar modulation. I'm getting into subjects that I don't really know, but I've heard podcasts about them. And I believe that is so complicated that you actually need the amplifier and the all the circuitry pretty much talking so well together that it needs to pretty much be in the same box. So I'm guessing a Flex Aurora or QMX would probably be your best, or a True SDX. One of those three would be your best bet if you want a polar modulation amp.
Yeah, the thing you mentioned about environmental concerns, that very much depend on where you live. If you live like here, where we don't have, or where most of the power is renewable, it's not a big issue, especially in winter when you would use that to heat your house anyways. But of course, if you're running on petrol generators on field day, then there's going to be some emissions from it, but it's not going to be much. Like you're not, even though you're running a kilowatt, you're pushing how much power? 250, 300 watts or something from it parts of the time. So it's not going to be that much.
I probably
And
consume a kilowatt drinking
allow
tea.
me to just spontaneous. Allow me to just translate the Norwegian expression here. It's going to be a drop in the ocean.
Yes.
I don't know how well that translates, but
Yeah.
So I just googled how much a kettle in Britain draws. I'm just curious about this.
about 2 kilowatts.
Well, so it's 0.11 kilowatt hour per use, and I sort of factored this, and I was like, okay, I probably have about 10 cups of tea when I sit working from home. I was thinking, I think it's.
You should not be worried about your QSOs. You should be worried about your tea.
Well, I think there is. This is. I mean, I googled that just because I knew kettles are particularly bad, but I think there are other things as well. So I read a really interesting book a while ago that was about this stuff, but it was more focusing on plastic waste and that sort of thing. And there's a huge campaign to put this onto the consumers of this stuff. So we've all got to start using, reusable cups and stuff like that. And that is all absolutely valid. But sometimes it takes away the focus from industry, which uses so much more than we ever could with so many of these things, that sometimes we need to campaign in that direction as well. So yeah, for sure, running a kilowatt amp all the time is not going to be great for the environment, but there are probably bigger fish to fry, I would say, in that regard.
We have an environmental revision at work every year, and I work in the travel industry, and I spent a lot of time actually figuring out how we could save on waste in the office, how we could save on heating and energy consumption. And the lady that's doing the revision, she just looks at my report and she says, well, that doesn't really matter because you have so many flights throughout a year that's where your CO2 comes from, not by limiting the little amount of waste or reducing office temperature. So it's it's about focusing on, but we are drifting far away from ham radio at the moment.
Yes, there was a very good question up here or a comment from 45 Auto a bit up there that said if he had amp money, he would rather get a proper antenna. Yes, you will get, at least in my experience, so much more from a better antenna than you'll get from a amp. Of course, having both is better, but that's where I would put my money. Also, something we've had
And
many
if you
times
had
before.
a significant amount of more money, you can put it into villa on top of the hill
Yes.
instead.
But then we talked about like what you're doing as a new ham as well. If you want to start out and you start with the amp, imagine that it's very it's going to be expensive for you to get even a used amplifier that works, that hasn't been abused throughout its life. So you can QRP is going to be or can be cheaper unless you're going to buy a very expensive QRP rig, because like a proper amplifier is not the cheapest thing to buy.
Nope.
No, and I'm thinking if you're a new ham, don't even consider an amplifier.
No.
Learn the basics first, and then once
But
you
maybe
master,
also not start with QRP, get
No,
a
no,
solid
st-
100 watt
start with-
rig and learn the ropes with that.
start with 100 watts, and then learn how that works, because 100 watts will give you more QSOs than 5 watts if you don't know all the other tricks to do.
Yeah.
So 100
Even
watts.
if you know all the other tricks, it
Yeah.
will give you more.
Yeah, especially if you apply those tricks to 100 watts as well.
Yeah. So, but it is an interesting question, and it comes up. But there's also, as with a lot of other parts in this hobby, like for example, Morse code or FT8 and so on, there are many with very strong emotions on this subject. So don't listen to, like, somebody will talk very strongly on a ham club meeting or something about this, as well as many other things.
As a lot of other things, such as CW versus FT8, and we all know that FT8 is better.
Yes, we haven't shown that, didn't we?
Oh, I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
I forgot one thing. I've been to my first CW class on Friday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How did that go?
A lot of beeps and dashes, and I was mentally exhausted. I had some plans going out doing a 160-meter POTA on Friday night. Because I forgot that the Olympics had started. So, but I didn't do that. I was mentally exhausted after an hour of CW.
Yeah. Can you send an E now?
I can send an E.
Yes.
And an A, a U, a V, and a 4.
Wow. Well,
And a
that's much
C,
better.
a
than
Q,
I thought.
and a T. So, or at least I can't necessarily send them, but I can recognize them at the moment.
That's good.
What
Just out of
it's-
curiosity, what speed is your course running at the moment?
20.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Fast enough that you can't count, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Shannon asked where I went to my CW class, and that was at my local club. So
physical course, right?
a physical course. So we are 1 tutor and 3 attendees, but well, basically there are 2 tutors and 2 students at this moment, because one guy knows enough CW to actually not needing the class. So yeah, we're getting somewhere on that, and I just need to get some practice in before Friday. But then again, it's Olympics season, so I've been watching a lot of TV this weekend. I think we're pretty much discussed as most topics in ham radio. The answer is pretty much it depends, but don't let an amplifier be the first thing you buy. I got a couple of announcements that I want to make. Let's see here if I can share my screen here, because we are starting to fill up at the we're not starting. We do have some places available, but we're getting there on the TEHRS meetup in July and August in Germany. If you guys want to join up, there's a link on our website in order to get here and fill out the sign-up sheet. There's even a video down here where I talk about how great last year's meetup was.
It was.
So that's one of the recommendations I do have. And the second one is, if you're in Norway or somewhere close to Norway in, well, less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hammeeting.no. This is only in English, but or sorry, only in Norwegian, but I guess Google can translate it somewhat for you. It's Norway's biggest hamfest. It's at an airport hotel in Oslo. So in case you live somewhere with direct flights to Oslo, that is an option. We're going to have a TEHRS dinner on Friday. We're actually fully booked there, but I could probably squeeze in a couple more seats, I think, in case you want to come. Charlotte's holding a talk. I am holding a talk. That's also one thing I forgot to mention in my Ham Radio Week. I've been finishing up on my presentation, at least the slide part of my presentation. And in order to set the bar high enough, I have decided to have a practical demonstration on how to flash LoRa device with the TEHRS firmware live. So there are just so many things that can go wrong doing that.
Well, your talk looks really good, so I
Yeah,
look forward to that.
That's basically because Bob made his LoRa presentation open source.
Yes.
So I basically just translated his presentation into Norwegian and added a couple of things.
Yeah, and for those that go there, there will be an option to get TEHRS stickers. There will be an option to get Parks on the Air stickers and Lima Alpha bunkers on the air stickers as well.
And
so just
perhaps,
find some.
Yeah, perhaps a LB0FI sticker as well. I forgot to order new ones, but I got a stack hidden somewhere in a drawer. I just can't find it. So I have less than 2 weeks to find them. And Charlotte, you're gonna host an activity for us there.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to this actually. So
Yeah.
This will be fun.
yes, so we're going to do a antenna build with a ridiculous budget, and the guys have to go out into the sort of junk haul and find all the equipment to build an antenna, and then hopefully we'll have a radio. That I need to secure that bit, otherwise this is going to work. Someone with a radio, and we can then see if we can make a QSO on this janky antenna. Obviously, we won't have soldering irons and stuff like that, so there might be a lot of electrical tape involved and stuff. But this is my thinking.
I do have a pine saw which I can power from a power bank. Is that a valid accessory to this?
Oh, minus 5 points.
I can't share it with people.
Oh, then maybe this will make it actually possible to do the challenge. So maybe that's allowed. I kind of want one of those. So.
Yeah, or if someone finds a soldering iron at the used sale, is that a valid purchase?
That's fine. It comes out of their budget, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So and Marin says, please take videos and photos. And yes, Marin, we are planning to actually film this, and then we're gonna do rock, paper, scissors and figure out who gets to edit the material from all of those YouTubers going around filming this.
Yes, so that will be a chaotic, fun event, and one of the few things we post on here that's not live, because sending this live would require slightly higher production quality than what we do.
It would require a full production team and more equipment, and we don't have that kind of budget.
Yeah.
In case we don't really have a budget.
Yeah. And the radio will probably be a G90, so it will be tuned. But the question is, will you get a QSO?
Well,
yeah, this is going to be fun.
We are in a hotel full of hams.
And hopefully we will do it outside and not indoors, because that would be hard. So that will be really fun. I'm so looking forward to this.
So if you want to attend one of those events, one of those is a TEHRS event. The other one is just a fun event. Not that the TEHRS event is not fun. It is actually very fun. But hammeeting.no and hamshow.eu. Check those out. We'd love to see you in one or both of the places.
Fantastic. And we are almost on the hour.
We are almost on the hour. We have 45 seconds left. So, and Vidar is actually asking, where is the antenna build happening? Outside Cold Fingers? Well, Bob's probably going to show up in shorts and sandals, as he has done the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. So
he did that on Friday in a full blizzard conditions. So
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
so he is not really Norwegian. He's secretly English, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I met him at the ham meeting, he had the excuse that he came straight from Spain. But the next year when I met him, he was still wearing shorts, and he came from home.
Yeah. There is a YouTuber's corner where there will be some tables where we can probably build some stuff together. Otherwise, there's a open area like in the reception area where we can probably do some fun stuff as well.
And yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's for myself, it's one of the highlights of the year.
It is.
Yeah.
And
So-
Jürgen's coming from Germany, Charlotte's coming from Scotland, so no
And
excuse. No, actually, you're coming from Austria, Jürgen, not Germany. Sorry about that.
Tobias, you have to come.
We're hoping
Yeah.
Tobias comes, but
Yeah.
we don't want to put
Yeah.
too much pressure on him.
You
but-
can fly directly to Tokyo from Oslo.
Yeah, that would
Can
actually
you?
be great. I just need 1.5 months extra vacation. Yeah, let's see.
So yeah, I think that's it for now. What's next week's topic?
Something fun.
Good question.
I'll check our planning sheet.
I actually looked it up because I've already prepared and I've
Yeah.
forgotten.
Oh, yeah. And I just need to open the right planning sheet, not the 145 Alive planning sheet, but the file that's called the Big TEHRS planning sheet.
Portable operations.
Yeah, how to make it Kuseli Scandinavian edition. And that means cozy, nice. I don't think
Yes.
that's a translatable word, but I think it involves campfires and coffee and hot dogs and
eggs.
Oh, that
an
sounds
axe,
great.
of course. So, see you guys next week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. We'll see you down the bands. We'll see you in the next video. 7-3.
See you.
7-3, folks.
Bye-bye.
7-3.
7-3.
Bye.